I'm Jonathan Messenger, broadcasting to you live from my home, where I record a kids podcast with my son, Griffin.
John dreams of inspiring other parents to create something with their kids. American Family Insurance is helping to make that dream happen right now.
Dad, what else does a monster look like?
It was so huge.
John's podcast began at home, and your dreams can too. Learn more about American Family's home insurance at mfam.com. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin, 53783.
Did the Ravens just cross off receiver as a draft need? Is Brandon Marshall worth a spot at the end of your Dynasty bench? And what was I thinking trading Deshaun Watson to Dave? Plus, FFPC 1250 number 2 Dynasty champ Steve Lee will join us shortly to talk about cashing in on A.J. Green, how to handle starting running backs that may not have a job after the NFL draft, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Thank you so much, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and Gerzak-fanatics. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, is Deshaun Jackson in for a bounce back? Is Tariq Cohen in for a breakout? And is Josh Allen's aunt thirsty? More on that later. Shout out to the chat room right now.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, feel free to post any questions you might have in there if you want to connect with us on Twitter. The show is at HSFF Hour. I am at Eric Balkman. Dave is at David Gerzak. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour is where you can get a hold of us. 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. If you want to give us a call tonight. HighStakesFantasyFootball@gmail.com is, of course, the inbox that our producer and mutual friend Rob monitors, as well as our audio engineer, Bryce. If you have any questions for us, get them in now. Actually, get them in before the show starts. But if you have any look, we all got stuff going on. I get it, okay? Send them in when you can. Send them in now. We'll try to get to all of them in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. The Football Guys Early Bird promotion is, of course, going on. Remember that you can get a free $35 team credit at MyFFPC.com when you buy your Football Guys team before June 30th and draft it before July 15th. We'll do that up to 3 times for 3 free teams. Check that out at MyFFPC.com. The main event Early Bird is, of course, expiring at the end of May. The room discounts at Planet Hollywood are going fast and furious. Make sure that you contact Greg Sidoris, our Casino Connection host. CasinoConnectionUSA@gmail.com is his new email address. That's where you can reach him at. You can also go to MyFFPC.com, the banner there. Click on that. You can book your stay at Planet Hollywood at those discounted rates. Register for best ball drafts starting at $35 and up. Dynasty Startup, Cinco de Mayo. Going to be crazy. That's when they're going on. You can register for them now before they fill up, but they do begin on May 5th. Dave? Anything to try? You were off last week. We had a great show. Did you have a nice rest? Nice time off? Nice vacay?
Yeah, it was great. It was Marco Island. It was super fun.
Florida.
It was our buddy Aaron. Yeah.
Yep.
One of the Hurricane Irma earlier this year. The condos and all those things are getting replaced and repaired. The restaurants are open. Bars are open. They're doing just fine.
Yeah, I saw some of the photos on Swarm. It looked like you were having a great time. I don't know if you know this. We got dumped on up here.
Yeah, my lovely wife told me all about it.
Yeah.
She was not happy.
Well,
take care of all that.
Was she plowing and shoveling herself, or did you have some
we had a service that was supposed to do it, but then they bailed on us on the final snow thing or whatever. So she left them an interesting message.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's get some interesting messages tonight from our guest, who I want to bring in right now. He took up high-stakes fantasy football 6 years ago, almost exclusively with the FFPC, and it's been a fantastic experience, he says, both in terms of the entertainment, but also the higher standard of competition. His first Dynasty league was indeed the 1250 number 2 startup, and he's added 4 other Dynasty franchises since then. He also plays in the main event with the FFPC every year. He's gotten out of his division and cashed a few times, and he cashed big as the 1250 number 2 Dynasty champ in 2017. Please welcome in this week's guest, Mr. Steve Lee. Steve, welcome into the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
It is only a few days away until the NFL draft starts. I can imagine you are desperately counting down the days till we find out where these guys are going to end up so you can start plotting out your rookie drafts, right?
Yeah, like everybody else. I've got my rookie board up and spending a lot of time assimilating a lot of information, watching a lot of game film, really looking forward to seeing where these guys land because, that's going to be a big factor for a lot of these guys.
Steve, before we get into some Dynasty fantasy football talk and some redraft stuff as well, tell the listeners what you do for a living.
So I'm actually a biochemist by training. I spent my career developing medical diagnostic tests, but I was fortunate enough to retire at a relatively early age a few years ago. So I still do consulting, but it's given me a lot more time to spend on fantasy football, which is, as I said, it's been a great experience with FFPC in particular.
It's not fair to everybody else, Dave, when you have a retired biochemist with his knowledge and the time at his disposal to put together these monster Dynasty teams. But that's awesome. That's fantastic.
I have no job-related questions.
That was my next question, because normally
I'm not bright enough to even ask a biochemical question.
Let's dumb it down here, Dave, so Steve gets to be on our level and ask him some fantasy football stuff.
So you took down the 1250 title last year. You have a ton of great talent. You have on your team. You have Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, and more. Do you have any thoughts on trying to trade AJ Green? He's, I guess, one of your old fellas for another young piece, or just be all young and on the uptick. Or what do you think about trading AJ Green?
Yeah, I actually haven't thought really about trading him. I just say that the team is pretty young right now. It's funny. I acquired Green in a trade this time last off-season. In fact, that trade actually came up, I remember listening on one of your podcasts last year because you had Andy Shaw, and he was on the other end of that deal, and I guess the trade came up in one of the questions. So I acquired him in a trade where I was really trying to shore up my tight end depth, and I traded away Odell Beckham for AJ, the 108, and Austin Hooper, who this past year was my starting tight end, which just tells you how shaky my tight end position has been. I recognized really when I got Green, I had maybe 3 years of his, at reasonably high productivity. He's 29, he's under contract through 2019. So I'm planning on probably hanging on to him. My team is pretty much built to win now, and I've got plenty of youth coming through.
Yeah, plenty of youth and built to win now. The two most elusive things that you can get in Dynasty. You get the best of both worlds in that 1250 number 2 league for sure. Right. You also have D.D. Westbrook on this squad, Steve. I want to ask you not necessarily about your fantasy team with them, but his real life team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dante Moncrief, whom they just signed, has struggled to be consistent over the course of his career. Marquise Lee also struggled to stay on the field as he's been hurt quite a bit over the course of his time in Jacksonville. What kind of season, knowing that about Moncrief and Lee, what kind of season do you think is in store for D.D. Westbrook this year?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about Westbrook. Obviously I liked him coming out of Oklahoma, and I drafted him in a few leagues. Obviously he's not a big receiver, but, he's fast. He ran us up 4.40 at, his pro day coming out. And, he was very productive in college. So I'm optimistic for the season going forward. As you say, there's not a lot of talent in front of him. And I was impressed with the amount of playing time he did get when he came off of IR. I guess it was week 11 during the last season. He wasn't as productive with his targets as I would have liked, but I'm willing to chalk that up to, just a rookie learning curve. And like I said, there's lots of opportunity for him in Jacksonville. He's going to be, I think, a big threat.
What do we think about Keelan Cole?
Yeah, he's another guy that's kind of gumming up the works in Jacksonville. He really came on at the end of last year. I don't think you can get much for him if you tried to trade for him right now in Dynasty, but you can if you were trying to get him off your team. But if you're trying to acquire as a flyer, which I probably wouldn't recommend in the FFPC with the short benches right now, you could get him for probably next to nothing, I would imagine, right, Steve?
You thought about Cole?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get him pretty cheap. And again, he looked very good too, and towards the end of last season. So, it's no lock. I mean, Westbrook's no lock to get to be highly productive. But I think given his pedigree, given his the market share he achieved in college, and given what he did in limited time towards the end of the season, he's a strong hold for me. And again, I think it's the same as with Cole. Even if I tried to move Westbrook, I don't think I'd get what his value is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
TD's got the coolest name, though, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what, Dave? You love the name and the looks of players. I feel like that's an underutilized scouting method by a lot of the analysts in the industry. You talk about guys' names and what they look like.
Yeah, that's true. They got to look good. So, Steve, you have 5 FFPC Dynasty teams. Have you ever made trade or waiver wire decisions that were affected by not wanting to own the same player on too many squads?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, not usually when I'm making waiver wire decisions, but if I'm drafting and trading, I will, but usually only if it's a close decision. If I'm choosing between two similar options, if I'm drafting or in a trade where, someone's like a high risk, high reward kind of guy, I might limit the number of shares I have of that person. Say again? No, you're good. We're talking with Steve Lee, the 1250 number 2 FFPC Dynasty champ tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Okay, there's going to be a certain amount of people that are going to be jumping into Dynasty for the first time, whether it's high stakes like the FFPC, a basement league, or what have you. It is different than playing in redraft leagues, in annual leagues. What do you think, Steve, and you can talk about this from Dynasty level or the high stakes Dynasty level, in your experience, what's the biggest mistake that you think the majority of new Dynasty owners make, or maybe ones that are experienced that they continue to make? Well, with the caveat that I'm not sure I've been playing high stakes Dynasty long enough to be dishing out advice. Maybe what I will do is maybe point to things I do differently than maybe some other players. The main thing for me is patience. I like to have a long-term plan for each franchise that I own, and that's usually a 3 to 5 year plan. And I know a lot of people say, you can't look more than 3 years out, but I think you at least have to try, and then as things change, you update your strategic plan, accordingly. I build my teams more through the draft and the waiver wire than I do through trading. I do trade, but I'm not one of these hyperactive traders who's cycling a lot of players through their roster. And I think the draft and the waiver wire actually are undervalued by Dynasty players because, they tend to be trading so much, they really don't necessarily put in the time in player evaluation because there's so many resources that are out there now in terms of the film breakdown. And obviously, you've got Waldman's, 1,700-page analysis of rookie players to get through it. A ton of other guys. There's so many podcasts. There's so much information you can triangulate. So So yeah, I guess I take a longer term view, and I would say maybe if anything, it's focusing more on the draft, and also the draft feeds into the waiver wire acquisition too, because there's guys that you look at 1 year in your draft analysis, and then for whatever reason they're still free agents. 2 years later. I mean, Nelson Aguilar is a good example of that, who's on this 1250 number 2 team. I acquired him off the waiver wire before he started to break out in Philadelphia when he nailed down that slot position there. So that's a summary of that, I guess.
And I think too, you talk about the waiver wire being underused a lot of times, and Dave, you can chime in on this. I think that some guys are more hesitant to let younger players go that have not proven themselves, that have not become viable weekly fantasy assets. They're more likely to give them a much longer leash and not part with them and pick up that hot waiver wire guy, especially if it's a guy who's been in the league for 2 or 3 years, who has had the chance, has not taken advantage of it, and then you pluck a guy like that off the waiver wire. Maybe he's not necessarily part of a 2 or 3 year plan, but he can definitely fill in for you and be a contributing asset for that season. And if you're active early on in the season, you can get guys like that. And I think Dynasty, you don't see that as much as you do in redraft.
Makes a lot of sense. I always want to try and get rid of my roster clogger.
Yeah, exactly.
They are the worst. And I was happy to make a trade. I actually dealt away a few of those the other day. So.
Oh, good for you. I can never do that. I feel guilty offering it a lot of times too. I had one tonight. I was trying to get Christian McCaffrey in a league, and here's what was going on with it. The guy had Delaney Walker as his only tight end, and his number 3 receiver was Corey Coleman. So I offered him Jarvis Landry, Pierre Garcon, Jordan Reed, and a second-round pick, and he turned it down. And I don't blame him, but I feel like
it's not the worst if he was close.
And he had the roster space. I feel like it's kind of like, not that those players are trash, but Garcon's getting older. Jordan Reed, I felt kind of guilty even offering it for a young, pedigree guy type like Christian McCaffrey.
Yes. What do you think, Steve? You just turned that down, right?
I don't think I'd have done that trade either.
Yeah. No one else was lured in by it as well. So, hey, let's talk about 2 of these young fellas, Michael Gallup or Equanimeous St. Brown. Did I say it right, Bucky?
Equanimeous?
Whatever.
I think. I don't know.
The Notre Dame wide receiver.
Yeah.
Or Michael, he was a little bit of an underperformer last year with that quarterback play. Or Michael, the great name for a wide receiver, Gallup. Who do you like better for Dynasty as a rookie?
So you asked that because that's a real easy question, right? Both those guys, I've got ranked, fairly closely on my board. They're both early second round to mid second round picks, depending on landing spot and, a few other things that might happen in the drafts. Gallup's probably the more pro-ready of the 2, truthfully, but ESB, arguably has the higher upside just because of his size-speed combination. The fact he broke out so young in college, which, as you know, counts for a lot. It's a very strong predictor for wideout success in the NFL. So which one I take would, as I say, it would largely depend to some extent certainly on landing spot, and maybe also on just your risk tolerance, because ESB has the higher upside, but I think he has some more risk. When you watch him on film, they're actually very different. ESB is, he's obviously got the size and the speed, but you watch him on film, and sometimes he doesn't play as big as he is. Whereas Gallup's the other way. He's a big effort guy. He plays bigger than he is. So, like I said, your choice outside of landing spot might come down to risk tolerance. Have I stayed sufficiently on the fence on that?
Okay. You mentioned breaking out as a young player. So let me just ask you this and, reveal what you want or don't. But do you subscribe to RotoViz? You're familiar with the Phenom article that they have every year that just came out recently?
Yeah, I do. It's another piece. You can't argue with statistics. When you combine the breakout age with the draft equity of where these guys are drafted in the NFL, the success rate is pretty predictive. You can't argue with the statistics. So it's you can't. It's like anything else. You can't slavishly follow one metric, but you triangulate that along with the combine, your own film review, all the analysis from people you respect in the industry. But it's certainly one important piece of the puzzle, yeah.
Well, I just want to follow up. I mean, so in that article, they didn't list Penn wide receiver Justin Watson initially, but John Moore then listed him off of, someone asked on Twitter for it, and he came in as the number 2 wide receiver for Phenom Tours. It was just over a 3.0. So do you have an opinion on Justin Watson coming out of Penn? I mean, that's a pretty phenomenal Phenom score. His pro day was fantastic. And it sounds like he's coming out. A lot of these teams that are the smart franchises like Pittsburgh and Green Bay have brought him in for visits.
And this is an Ivy League educated college prospect, too.
I mean, the Ivy Leagues are overrated. We all know that.
Unless you teach at one.
Well,
clearly you're the cream of the crop then.
Yeah, guys, you have me at a disadvantage there. I'm actually going to have to plead the fifth on Justin Watson. I haven't, first of all, he's not ranked very highly on my board, and I probably need to dig into that based on just what you've said to see if there's more interest. I can't, truthfully, add much more to that, to be honest with you.
And we'll see where he gets picked.
We will. And Steve, I will say this: I have had conversations with one person about Justin Watson, and it's Dave Gerzak. So I don't think you're alone in not knowing, being super familiar with this game.
Well, the Steelers and the Packers know who he is.
Right. Well, listen, but I'm not friends with the Steelers nor the Packers. I don't know what they're doing. Let's get back. We've been talking about rookies. I do want to talk about one NFL free agent who is not a free agent in Dynasty League, and that's Dez Bryant. What would you give up for him if the Bryant owner in your league wanted to trade him to you? And actually, Stone Cold Beast in the chat room says he wants to know what's the best landing spot for Dez Bryant where you would be rooting for him to sign.
Someone also asked if he would covalently bond with the Giants.
Yes, and the biochemistry question of the night, Kern Reeve, our resident Ivy League professor, wants to know if Dez would what would it be covalently bond to the Giants.
That's very good. That's good. Yeah, I don't know that the Giants would be such a great landing spot for him anyway. I mean, there's enough competition for targets there, between OBJ and Shepard and Evan Ingram, as it is. Dez, I actually own Dez in one of my leagues, and I haven't really tried to move him right now because I think his value is about as low as it's going to get. At least I hope it's as low as it's going to get. You could. His fair value right now is probably a late first, early second. You're seeing him go in like the 6th or even the 7th round in current redrafts, which, is staggering, really. But there's no question his productivity has declined precipitously, and I guess we'll have to see where he ends up and whether he can kind of reinvent himself as a receiver the way Larry Fitzgerald has over the years. And if he does, then, you might have an opportunity to move him for, something more than that, and perhaps get a decent player or draft pick in return. Obviously, if he went to Green Bay, I think that would perk up everybody's interest in his future. But at the end of the day, like I said, he needs to kind of reinvent himself a little bit and just, become a better receiver as his, physical skills have kind of declined.
Yeah, they definitely have. He needs to, again, just reform how he wins in the NFL, how he gets open, how he catches the football, how he puts up numbers, how he becomes an asset to his next team, whoever it is. He needs to adjust with his, changing body as he's going through his post NFL puberty. Yeah, he's going through his post NFL, late puberty. So he needs to find out how he can still be an asset for his next team.
All right, let's talk about some running backs that.
You didn't like that analogy?
It was wonderful.
All right.
The running backs that are in little precarious situations, at least from a fantasy perspective, we have Alex Collins, starter, Kenyon Drake, starter, and Isaiah Crowell, starter. They all are starters. But in 4 or 5 days here, they may be looking.
They may not be.
Or actually, they may still be. But from all of our perspectives, they already lost their jobs, even though none of the mini camps even started.
Right.
Do you own any of those players, and are you floating them out there to trade them away, or trying to acquire any of them?
I have actually a number of shares of Crowell. I haven't really been trying to move him largely because, I don't think I can get what he's worth right now, on the back of, what was fairly inconsistent productivity in Cleveland. And obviously now he's moving to the Jets, which, let's face it, nobody views as a real powerhouse offense. But the guy has a career 4.2 yards a carry, production, and he can catch the ball, and he can be a 3-down back, and he's still only 25. So, yeah, he's a hold for me. I don't have shares of Kenyon Drake or Alex Collins. I mean, of the three, I think Kenyon Drake is probably the most marketable. You're seeing him go, around the 4th round in redraft leagues. So, if I owned him, I would definitely be looking to move him just because of the uncertainty of his role going forward and not knowing what's going to happen in the draft.
Let's get to some listener emails here for you, Steve. I'm sorry, Dave. Do you?
Duke Johnson. We have to talk about him.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Do you think so? There's rumors. The big rumor is that Cleveland takes quarterback at 1 and that Barkley goes at 2. So that kind of leaves Duke Johnson's passing game role, back in play, back to normal, so to speak, which is an RB2 role. What do you think about picking up Duke Johnson for cheap? Because he's probably not. People may not be paying attention to that. Do you think that's an interesting idea?
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't know who. I mean, Cleveland's going to add a back. Obviously, you just don't know what the pass catching capability of that back's going to be. I do like Duke Johnson though. I own him in a couple of leagues, and I'm a big fan of his. But again, we'll just have to see how it shakes out in the draft. There's a number of backs who have pretty good pass catching capability in this rookie draft. I mean, this rookie draft is obviously, as you know, guys know, is by far the deepest running back class for, I don't know, in my recent memory anyway.
It sure.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of a deeper one than. I mean, there's so many. Dave and I have been talking about this. Even mid to late 2nd round picks, maybe even an early 3rd round pick, that could have a lot bigger value than it did in previous years, for sure.
Would you buy Drake for the 211? Anyone? I think Meyer might have him here.
If I had Kenyon Drake, would I?
No, if you had the 211, would you pay it for Drake? Would you sell him for that? Steve's the same question. This is my greedy question here.
Yeah, no, I think, and Steve, I'll let you answer in a second. I think I would probably rather have Kenyon Drake than the 211, so I would surrender the 211, even with this draft. I would probably give that up for Kenyon Drake.
Steve, what do you think? 211 or Drake?
I'm not sure I'd do it for a late second, but I'd do it for a mid-second or better.
So you'd rather have Drake? All right.
Yeah, I would.
All right, back to the email. All right, let's pretend that was an email.
We all love the Drake, Dave. I think that's the moral of the story here. Let's go to Josh in Seymour, Texas. He writes, "Hey Steve, would you trade Juju Smith-Schuster for the 103 right now? I also have Corey Davis, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Allen Robinson at receiver, and Shady, Ingram, and McKinnon at running back. Thanks for the email, Josh in Seymour, Texas." So this guy's fairly deep at receiver, fairly young at receiver too. His running backs are not the youngest guys in the world. If you were in this situation, would you trade Juju for the 103 rookie pick?
I love Juju, but I would make that trade if I had that franchise with that composition. Just because you could get Nick Chubb and combine him with the other talent you've got at receiver, and you'd be in a very strong shape. I mean, like I said, I love Juju, but I'm big on making strategic trades like that. I don't mind giving up value if it makes sense for the team.
Let's see. We have one more email, I think, here. Yeah, Orlando, Florida. This is Will. He writes, "Some guy just offered me Tevin Coleman for Jay Ajayi in one of my Dynasty leagues. Is this the one I should pull the trigger on? Nice job in the FFPC last season." Thanks for the email. Will in Orlando, Florida. So I guess this is a head-to-head question. Who would you rather own in Dynasty? Is it Tevin Coleman or is it Jay Ajayi, Steve?
Wow, that is a tough question. I think I got a lot of time for Tevin Coleman, and obviously he's he's in I think the final year of his contract in Atlanta, and I could see that guy having a big role if he goes somewhere else. I can see him being a full-time back. Having said that, that's a great Eagle offense. I'd probably take the Ajayi end of that deal.
Dave, where do you fall on that? You'd probably rather own Tevin. Well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like you like Coleman or Ajayi historically.
You're right.
You don't like either one of them. And by the way, Steve was right. This is a contract year for Coleman. He is a free agent.
I would take Coleman probably.
You would take Coleman. Is it the youth thing, the opportunity to be the man somewhere next year?
I don't mind his speed. He could emerge somewhere. I don't think he will probably, but Ajayi, I still worry a little bit about the knee thing.
Yeah.
Plus he's been passed around. I don't like players that get passed around. AKA Brandon Cooks is on my hoop list.
Well, Ajayi hasn't really been passed around.
Well, once.
And
Cooks, it's like, was this guy the biggest a-hole in the room? I mean, he must be a not very nice fella.
But the other thing to keep in mind about Ajayi, and we'll move on after this, but I will just say that he is the starting running back on a Super Bowl team, and this offense looks awesome.
As of right now, yeah.
As of right now. So, I don't know, you could ride him out for the next few years, too.
Good point. Good point.
All right, do you have one last question for Steve before we let him go into the weekend here?
Yes, we need to know, as much info as we can.
Right.
We need a first-round Dynasty draft rookie bust. God, that's a lot of adjectives.
Yep, a lot of modifiers.
And then someone's doing the second or third round of rookie draft, so it's going to have a fantastic fantasy career. We'll be checking back in a couple of years on that.
Okay. God, I hate to clear anybody up fast at this stage. I'll tell you a guy I'm staying away from who seems to be in most people's first round, and that's Ronald Jones. And that really reflects a bias maybe that I have against players where I can't really envisage what they're going to be in the NFL. When you look at his tape, obviously he's got great speed and quickness, tremendous burst. He's elusive, at least for the open field. But he's undersized. You watch him and you think he's not going to make a living running inside. So how productive is he going to be in fantasy if he's not going to catch the ball a lot? And he didn't catch the ball a lot in college. So I just don't have – there's just too many questions about him for me to take him in the first round. As far as a guy who's, I like who you can get a lot later, maybe a late second, I'll go with Deion Kane, wide receiver out of Clemson. He's 6'2", 205. He's a great hands catcher, and he ran a 4.43 40, so he's plenty fast enough. And he looks real elusive on film. Great, after the catch kind of skills, and he makes these really sharp lateral cuts. And then when you match that up with his combine numbers, and you see his three cone, the athleticism that he put up in the combine matches what you see in film, which for me is always a good thing. It just kind of reinforces, your view. So he's a guy I'm very high on as a late second round pick.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I think
have a 211 thanks to Meyer turning down the Drake
Oh,
offer.
there you go.
Deion Kane. Thanks, Meyer.
It's a free Deion Kane for Dave Gerzak tonight.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. And what a conversation it was with Steve Lee, the 1250 number 2 FFPC Dynasty champ, joining us tonight. Steve, I want to thank you for spending some time with us, letting us pick your brain, and good luck not only in that 1250 number 2, but all your Dynasty leagues and the main event this year too. Maybe this will be the year that you stop winning. The winning doesn't stop with your league cash. Maybe you'll end up placing pretty high in the championship round. You never know. So thanks so much for joining the show. Best of luck to you this year, man.
Thanks a lot, guys. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve Lee, ladies and gentlemen, the 1250 number 2 FFPC Dynasty League champion. Dave, I got to say, speaking of, Steve talked about reinforcing views.
Yes.
My views have been reinforced tonight once again on Ronald Jones and Deion Kane. Do you remember a few months ago I said, boy, every time we asked who's going to be a first-round bust this year, you knew his name kept coming up? Des Bryant. You don't remember this?
First-round bust?
Well, not a first-round bust, like an early-round bust for redraft.
Okay.
We talk about that.
I was going like the 12th.
Right, yeah. Is he really dropped it?
I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, these guys are like picking
So I ended up trading.
Jamal Anderson's my boss,
So I ended up trading Des Bryant in Dynasty, and I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah. What'd you get from?
The 201. I feel like I talk about it every single week. I'm boring myself with it, but I'm getting a lot of feedback on first-round bust Ronald Jones. This is a guy I kind of liked early in the process, and I don't think I like as much anymore. It seems like high-stakes players are off him a little bit. And Deion Kane's name is coming up as a second-round, third-round sleeper as well.
With Jones, because of the injury and because he claimed he was 80% of his workout.
Right.
I did watch the film. He looked really good on film, and I'm just going to let the NFL evaluate that a little bit. And I'm going to see where he gets drafted, and then I'll make my decision. I find it a little too tough to evaluate him without. If he goes in the second round, then it's like, all right, we're back.
Yeah.
But if he goes in the fourth, well, then they
obviously.
Well, not that that's the worst. I think we're Jordan Howard went in the fourth. Right?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It's a big difference, obviously.
It is a massive difference.
There you go.
Jake Valish, and Jake, you got to tell me how to pronounce your name, man. You always offer up this great stuff in the chat room, and I butcher your name every week. Trade question for him: Kareem Hunt, Brandon Cooks in the 201, or Thomas? I'm not sure which Thomas that is. Michael?
Wide receiver,
Michael Thomas. Okay, I know it was Demarius or whoever it was. Michael Thomas, Kenyon Drake in the 103. Which side of that deal would you rather have, Dave?
Give me a second, because that's actually a lot of talent going around.
Boy, that is tough. I think I am leaning to, I don't know, probably the Hunt side. I think I'd rather have the Hunt Cooks 201. Valike, he says. Jake Valike. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Jake. I don't know. You know what?
Hey, that's the more fancy.
I know. I do. Listen. I check to the more fancier pronunciation a lot of times. Jake Valike. I got to get that right.
I don't know.
Hunt Cooks 201. Michael Thomas, Kenyon Drake 103. I know it's tough because you have the eliteness of Kareem Hunt, but then you have the eliteness of Michael Thomas, and then
I'm trying to find the trade.
And then it's sort of Michael Thomas, or excuse me, Kenyon Drake and Brandon Cooks are like the secondary options there, but then you have the massive 9 pick or 10 pick difference between the 103 and the 201 too.
Yeah, so you're looking at like a Sony Michel or Trell type player at 103.
Right.
At 201, you're looking at one of the top 4 wide receivers, probably the third or fourth one, or like a Goddard type guy.
Who is the top 4 receivers for you? I didn't realize you tiered them out that way.
Well, I'm not tearing them out necessarily.
Well, no, but you say like top 4. To me, there's an unspoken cutoff of talent between 4 and 5.
Well, I was just actually including like 8 running backs during the drafted pretty early.
I understand now.
For me, it's PJ Moore and everybody else at this point.
Okay.
But depending upon where Ridley goes, I know everybody's crapping all over Ridley like he's the worst. But if he goes in the first round, he still went in the first round. You know what I mean? I know he didn't have the best combine. I know his stats weren't the best at Alabama and all that. Phenom score wasn't the greatest. But if he goes early, you have to consider him at least.
Oh, I will consider him. And that's probably where we're at. So which side of the trade? Or are you bowing out on this one?
I'll take the side with the players. I'll take the Hunt side.
The Hunt side, okay. All right, thanks to Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Dave, I want to bring up our friends at Football Guys here for a second. We do a show called The Audible every Thursday night, except for when they don't do it on Thursday nights. They bring up, like, the lead story, and I think I'm exaggerating a little bit here, 95% of the time, the lead story for, like, the last 18 months,
story?
Andrew Luck.
Oh.
What's going on with Andrew Luck?
Why do they keep talking? I mean, we figured this out over a year
ago.
As
my tribute to the Audible, we are going to bring up Andrew Luck as the first part of our rundown tonight. Now, I'm going to read this without commentary, and I'm just going to let you take it away because I feel like this is when our Andrew Luck
there's something to pimp it out anymore.
Analysis is best. Chris Ballard confirmed that Andrew Luck is still not throwing a football. This is according to Mike Wallace on Twitter. Chris Ballard says, however, a lot of the exercises Luck's been doing are, quote, conducive to the same thing.
What the hell does that mean?
Ballard also said that Indianapolis' decision to trade down from the number 3 pick shows that the team is confident in Luck's long-term health. Does the hashtag me doth think thou doth protest too much still apply here? Because I think it does.
You know, it's funny. I just Googled Chris Ballard, and I was about to rip on how much of a dummy he is. He went to Madison.
Oh, really? UW-Madison? How about that?
So he's a genius.
Well, I wouldn't say. Plenty of morons who went there, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all wishful thinking.
Wasp guy. He can drill the Nerf balls, though.
See, hopefully you watch on my Twitter. Chris Ballard, you are making mistakes. You should be they should draft a quarterback.
Yeah, at 6.
Yeah, and they traded down, right, for what?
They traded down from 3.
At 6,
Rosen should be there, you would think.
One of those guys will be
there. I don't know Mayfield will.
Well, like you said, one of them will be there.
Lamar Jackson will be there.
He'll be there almost for sure. He'll be there until like 15 when the Cardinals pick or the. You know what he's so great? I'm going to change topics a little bit.
Okay.
Is if the Patriots trade Gronk and draft that Dallas Goddard guy, whatever, how you're
Goddard?
Yeah, Goddard. And draft Lamar Jackson. And then Brady retires after 2018.
Right.
And then Belichick completely retools the offense around Lamar Jackson and continues to win Super Bowls.
That'd be great.
And it's just like, look, I'm the genius. It wasn't Brady the whole time.
Yep.
That would be awesome. Anyway, back to this whole thing.
We don't have to talk about Andrew Luck anymore. I put that in for comical reasons. Stone Cold Beast trade question. Someone in our league offered OBJ for the 101 that was rejected. Crazy or not crazy? It's definitely not crazy. What would you rather have, Beckham or the 101, Dave?
So it's Beckham or Barkley.
Basically.
I'll take Barkley over.
I think I would too.
And
as crazy as it seems.
Yeah, Beckham's, like I've said this before on the show, Beckham's
a little
flaky for me. He just is, and that's sorry.
Well, you don't have to be sorry if that's.
I'm
I think
sorry he is flaky.
He's giving us enough ammunition here to use that modifier for him. I don't think it's inaccurate.
Saquon could bust. There's maybe a 10% chance, 20% chance. 10% that he ends up being like Reggie Bush, 10% that he just busts outright.
Right. Yep.
But 80% is still pretty good. And he could, based on what people are saying, he could be an LT or AP type career.
Yeah. And if
the hype is real,
and if he crushes it his rookie year, then you go ahead and trade him for Beckham and a couple of firsts. Boom. Solved. Browns GM John Dorsey said during his pre-draft press conference he thinks, quote, hand size is important when looking for a quarterback.
Or boyfriend.
Cleveland Plain Dealer had their support. Dorsey said, you'll laugh at me when I say it. I think hand size is important. Hand size in November, December, when it's snowing, raining, it's getting muddy. We all know the elements in Cleveland are going to play a role. Sam Darnold, 21 fumbles in 24 starts at USC. That's interesting. He did have adequate size to hang on to the football in AFC North stadiums late in the season. You worry about that sometimes, quote. Cleveland has reportedly considered drafting a quarterback with both the number 1 and number 4 picks. Hey, Dave,
of course they did.
Let me ask, there's a lot to unpack here. Give me a percentage chance that the Browns take 2 quarterbacks with their first 2 picks.
10.
I don't think it's that high.
If you get a 10, that's the size of Josh Allen's hand.
Interesting.
They are the largest, I believe, in this year's draft. Let me pull this up here. Actually, I'm sorry, 10 and an 8.
Okay.
And who is the next height? I think Josh Rosen was 9 and 7/8 if you're looking at hand size. The rest of them are just a little bit smaller. Darnold, 9 and 3/8. Lamar Jackson, 9.5. 9.25 for Mayfield, and Mason Rudolph, 9 and 1/8 if you're going down that list. Did I miss anybody?
If you were John Dorsey, it doesn't matter. If you were John Dorsey, Mason Rudolph, did you say his?
Yeah, 9 and 1/8.
If you were John Dorsey, who would you take number 1? Not necessarily a quarterback.
Oh, I would take Barkley for sure.
No question.
Let's say
it's
so easy. There's all these supposedly good quarterbacks, and you pick 2 picks later.
Right.
Take Barkley, the one amazing supposed running back. I just don't understand. I get it. They think that they're so sold on Allen over the other guys. I just don't. It doesn't seem like it's that way based on what you hear from other scouts. It seems like it's pretty close because there's been like 4 quarterbacks that are supposed to go on number 1 throughout this process.
You know, it is interesting, and granted, this would be playing the gambling card a little bit here. If they took Barkley number 1, I really don't think that if Allen is their guy, I really don't think that he would be taken.
He might be there at 4, right?
I would think he should be there. Because Darnold would go to the Giants then.
Probably.
And it seems like the Jets like Mayfield.
Right.
So Allen would,
the Browns aren't that, they're the Browns. They're still the Browns.
They are still the Browns. The Ravens signed Willie Snead to a 2-year, $10.4 million offer sheet, according to Adam Schefter on Twitter. The Saints have 5 days to match this offer or risk losing him. But the fact that the Saints gave him an original round tender and they just signed Cameron Meredith to a 2-year, $9.6 million contract, I think Snead is going to be a Raven. Remember the Saints
did they sign? Did they?
Yeah, it's to an offer sheet, so the Saints can match it. Thanks for listening, by the way.
I'm sorry, I was reading Wasp Guys.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you had much more important stuff going on.
Sipping my drink.
Yes. The Saints also signed Brandon Coleman this week. So the Ravens now, Dave, Michael Crabtree, John Brown, Willie Snead. Even if the Ravens take somebody like Ridley or Sutton in the first round, I don't know how he factors in being an immediate guy in year one.
Yeah, they actually added a lot. The Ravens have Crabtree, Brown, and Snead. Wow.
Yeah, and Crabtree is clearly the guy to own there. That's what's so great about Crabtree is I really don't view Snead or John Brown as much of a threat on that team to what Michael Crabtree can do, at least for the 2018 season.
Mm-hmm. Crabtree would be an interesting dynasty pickup if you're a championship team that just needs a third or fourth wideout.
Yep, totally agree. I want to say, was John Brown's just a one-year deal? Snead's is obviously a two-year deal. So if they do take a receiver in the first round, you're looking at 2019, 2020 for those guys to break out. I don't know if it happens in 2018.
Yeah, you were just commenting. I thought there might be
there's no question there. The Giants released with a failed physical wide receiver Brandon Marshall, according to Kimberly Martin on Twitter. Brandon Marshall dominated his one season in New York. 18 catches, 154 yards, and 0 touchdowns on 33 targets. He had a season-ending ankle injury in Week 5. He is now 34 years old. Said he'd be willing to take a pay cut. Interestingly enough, when Des Bryant talked about going to the Giants on Twitter, Brandon Marshall said, receiver room's too crowded here, buddy. And now Marshall's out of that receiver room. Saves $5.16 million for the Giants in cap space. Dave, is this the precursor for Des Bryant signing with the New York Giants with Beckham, Ingram, and potentially Barkley there along with Sterling Shepard?
I don't think so.
This is purely a cap-cutting move that is ridding the Giants of a guy who was not going to contribute for what they were paying him in 2018. That's the way you see it.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Des is he's just not worth it. Kind of, it seems like to me. Like a lot of teams, I think about half the NFL thinks that he's just not worth.
Okay, I can see that. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Gun to your head. You have 5 seconds. Des Bryant is a blank week 1. You can't say like bust or something like that. What team is he on?
I'll say Packers.
Packers percentage chance.
7.
Okay, so you're not confident.
I'm just throwing stuff
You're
out
not confident about where he's going to sign.
Effectively, we're just BSing right now.
Okay,
yes.
all right. I was just curious. Well, I'm not BSing. I mean, I wanted your actual.
I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. I think he's more likely to. I don't think he goes to Green Bay. But
he says it's because of the past history.
Yeah,
it's such a.
Who's his agent? His agent needs to tell him, like, look, we're not doing any interviews until you sign with somebody.
Don't talk anymore.
Monday morning quarterback Albert Breer reports that more than one team prefers DJ Moore to Calvin Ridley. Moore, 39.5-inch vertical, 132-inch broad jump, 6'1". Did he measure at the combine?
I think he was 6'2".
6'2". Okay. And obviously he was awesome after the catch in Maryland, despite, I don't know how many quarterbacks.
Massive market share for that team.
Huge market share. Maybe not as refined as Calvin Ridley's route running, but his physical skills maybe give him a higher ceiling than Calvin Ridley. I think, Dave, these NFL teams are just listening to our show and hearing us talk up DJ Moore and how much we like him, and that's why all of a sudden they like him more than Ridley.
It might be the case. We've been talking about a lot. I love him, and then that John Moore Phenom Score article came out this week. He has the highest ever Phenom Score, like 4.6 or something like that.
4.66 is what you told me earlier.
And that guy kind of
highest ever.
From what I understand, the way that they define it is that means it's his, like he has, what did I say? His production was 2.25 standard deviations higher than the average player, and that having that production was 2.25 standard deviations younger than the average player.
Wow.
So I mean that's crazy.
Yeah. That's nuts. I mean, think about all the great receivers we've seen come through the draft the last few years. Hey, I'm curious. Do you remember in Matt Waldman's rookie scouting portfolio, do you know where he had DJ Moore among? Because he always does that rank of like guys in previous years too, where he compares them to the prospects of like the previous 3 years or 4 years, and then he ranks all those guys together.
I think he has them up there. I can just pull it up quick. I'm just giving. I guess
you don't have to bring it up. I was just curious if you remember off the top of your head, roughly where he was and how much he liked DJ Moore in comparison to the other receivers that have come out over the last few years.
Over the last few years.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Oh, that word's 2015 versus.
Right. Yeah.
I don't even know where. I mean, it's 1,734 pages. Where does he put?
That's why I didn't want you to look it up. I just was curious if you knew it off the top of your head. So don't worry.
Keep talking. I'll bring it up in a few minutes.
Well, okay. So the thing is with DJ Moore, we've talked about him on the show quite a bit. Things we like about him, obviously he blew up the combine. He was heavier and taller than his reported weight and height were at Maryland. He obviously the phenom score from RotoViz that Dave just talked about. Number 5. Who is he behind?
Oh, Laquan Treadwell was number 1.
Right, yeah, all right.
Corey Davis, who was a colossal bust last year, is number 2. Well, he had no touchdowns. Dante Pettis is number 3, and Kelvin Ridley is 4.
He was really talking up Dante Pettis this week.
So, by the way, I apologize if I'm giving away, by the rookie scouting portfolio, I just gave away, 5 of his rankings with the free content out of 1,734 pages.
Matt Waldman, RSP.com. ESPN's Jordan Renan says he's talked with more than a few sources who really like Lamar Jackson. Renan says that he believes 5 quarterbacks will be drafted within the first 20 picks of the draft. Probably Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, and Lamar Jackson. And there is a chance. Oh, you know what? I just realizing, Dave, I forgot to put it together. Oh, just real quick. Mason Rudolph, Kyle Lauletta, potential to go in the first round. But the buzz on Lamar Jackson's growing. Do you think that this is hype or is this real actual buzz? Because now we're hearing a lot of stuff,
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Lamar Jackson. Do you think that this is hype or is this legit that he is going to go in the top 20 picks?
I think it could be legit. I think that people are, figuring out. If you look at the stats that he put up better stats than Barkley. And then he has all the, again, like I was saying to you, I think at the office the other day, from a fantasy perspective, Lamar Jackson is going to get you 3/4 of a quarterback and an RB1.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with that? That's fantastic. But I mean, from a real NFL perspective, if you can manage your team and like Deshaun Watson, like they did with Houston, if you can make your offense work around that, I mean, he could be an amazing talent. You're going to score a ton of points.
The Westgate released draft props, and boy, there were some compelling ones, and I can't. Damn it! This is really annoying. I wanted to have these up because it had what's the over/under on or will there be more than 4.5 quarterbacks drafted? Will there be more than 2.5 running backs drafted in the first round?
I'm gonna look that up. We're gonna have to get that prop.
It was gonna be God, I can't believe I forgot this. I had so much stuff going on, and I totally forgot to bring it up. But I'm trying to find it right now, and I'm not having any kind of success.
Oh, well.
But there is, I'm going to keep looking for it here.
People are talking about Mason Rudolph in the late first.
Yeah, then that's what was so compelling. I think I found it.
A big dude.
I think I got it. I do have it.
Rudolph could be decent, too.
He could. Okay, so there's a lot of stupid ones here that I don't think are worth mentioning. Well, I mean, number of Big Ten players drafted in the first round. Who cares? Number of quarterbacks selected in first round under 3.5 is -180 right now.
What?
Yeah, number of quarterbacks selected in round 1.
What's the over? Plus 140
plus
or
160.
Oh my goodness!
So you totally take the over there.
Oh yeah.
Number of running.
For like $10,000. Where is this?
Son of a gun! I just realized I'm looking at the 2017 odds. Well, this was a complete fail.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
So ridiculous. I can't believe how.
Let's talk about something else. What's the next topic? We just
sucks.
got to get past it.
I let the listeners down. Let's get into fantasy feedback.
They don't care.
All right, I'm going to talk about something that, if for any of you who subscribe to the Dynasty League football newsletter, there's some good stuff in there every week from Ryan McDowell, who's obviously a really respected Dynasty analyst out there. He writes a column called For Your Eyes Only. And this is going to be for your ears only because I'm going to read some of the stuff he said about receivers. He wanted to look at the age that receivers have their best season.
Can I guess? I don't.
Okay, go ahead and guess.
27.
Yeah. Okay. 27 is your guess. He began. I'm going to cycle through this. He began with the top 100 PPR wide receiver seasons ever. Found the average age of those 100 players to be 27.1 years old.
Oh, sweet.
He narrowed that list to the top 50 of all time, and the age actually increased to 27.5.
I can see that.
He thought the data might be affected by previous eras.
No, it's probably by players that are awesome.
Okay. But
awesome or players that are awesome. Go ahead, sir.
He narrowed the data to only the past 20 seasons. The average age of the top 100 wideouts was still 27.1.
Okay.
The top 50 receivers of the past 20 years, 27.3. So regardless of how he tried to change the data, the age 27 season seems to be a big one for receivers. So that bodes well for obviously receivers. What's interesting is 27, not to talk about baseball, that's right. The big breakout year for baseball hitters.
Baker Boy told me that.
27, yeah. So it's interesting that it does for receivers. So You look at players who are either going to be turning 27 or between 28 and 30 when they're still putting up good numbers. AJ Green, we mentioned him earlier. With
that's probably the best combination of testosterone that you still retain and skill level.
Could be.
Anyway, I wonder what Watts thinks about that one.
Ryan McDowell listed T.Y. Hilton, Adam Thielen, Alshon Jeffrey, Marvin Jones, and many others that are in that age range this year.
Interesting.
So this begs the question, Dave. What do you want for Alshon Jeffrey and Blake Harrington?
You know, I was trying to trade him off last year.
I know, and now I have actual data here that said that was a mistake for me not to acquire.
Somewhere in first. What? You think he's looking first, right?
At this point, yeah, I guess he has to be.
He's the number one for the team that's going to win the Super Bowl per you.
Right. Wait, I didn't say that they were going to win the Super Bowl. I said they're competing. Yeah, for sure. Watch Guy, nice hypothesis, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Ed in Bakersfield, California, can you guys get on board with the Deshaun Jackson bounce back this season with the stuff that's come out about all the extra time he and Winston have been spending together? Thanks for the email, Ed.
At the clubs?
I am not on board with the bounce back season with Deshaun Jackson, even though I took him in that dispersal draft, and I think he might be okay. I don't know, man. I think we've seen the best of Deshaun Jackson. I think Mike Evans.
4 years ago, right?
Mike Evans controls the targets there. Jameis Winston was talking about this, and he mentioned FaceTime. Like, oh yeah, we're connecting a lot on FaceTime. I don't know how that helps you develop I don't know how much Jordy Nelson and Aaron Rodgers FaceTime that made them better receivers.
Probably not.
So I think this is a little bit overrated.
Stone Cold Beast, D-Jax is done.
Yeah, I'm not buying into this.
No one else is in Dynasty. I couldn't sell him off for less than a Snickers bar, Meyer.
If you could get the 306 right now for D-Jax, would you take it?
It's rookie fever season. I probably would.
Yeah.
But that's
rookie fever season.
That's getting pretty late, though. I prefer like the 301 late second, but yeah.
Aunt Jemima not down with bounce back from Jameis. Dear David Balky, Matt Nagy said today that he wants to move Tariq Cohen around the formation on offense and compared him to Ty Hill. And Cohen says Ty Hill. And Cohen says he's put on 10 pounds of muscle this offseason. Are these all signs of a breakout in 2018? Randy in Greenville, North Carolina. Well, Randy, I'll tell you this. Number one, thanks for the email. Number two, I already drafted Tariq Cohen on a team this year, so I'm obligated to tell you I love him, and he's going to be great.
Yeah, it could be interesting, really. I like him.
Yeah. Jordan Howard is going to be featured in that offense, too.
Yes,
do I know where he's going? Is that what the next question was?
Yeah, where's he being drafted?
I can tell you exactly where he's being drafted. ADP and FFPC best balls as 7-11 right now.
It's not cheap.
He's open all day, just like he is on the field.
It's not cheap, but it's not,
it's not cheap, but think about it. If you take a tight end early, you stack maybe like 3 or 4 receivers early, you get a stud running back in there.
Classic Balky plan.
No, I'm not listing them in order, although this is kind of how I formulated that team. Tariq Cohen ended up being, what round did I take him in? I think I took him in the 7th. No, I took him in the 6th. No, the 7th. I took him in the 7th round there, and he is my number 2 running back. Now, I was nervous about that. I thought I screwed it up. I feel okay with it right now.
Yeah, so where did Cohen, I'm just trying to look at where Cohen finished last year. He was the number 29 running back, averaged 9.2 points per game. Started off hot, kind of struggled a little bit mid-season and late season. I don't know. I don't think I'm all that interested.
Okay. His price has to come down for you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he really didn't do a whole lot after the first few weeks. I mean, he did, a few things, but nothing great. I mean, so effectively, you're going to have to trust coach speak in order to and you're paying for the trust. You're paying for that trust. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
If he was a 12th rounder, okay, that's fine. It's cheap.
What if you loaded up on receivers, tight end, and a stud running back early, and you kind of screwed it up? And
I would probably look at somebody else. Who else is being drafted?
All right, I'll tell you who's drafted. You want to know who's being drafted after Cohen? Rashad Penny.
Yeah, for sure.
Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, Burkhead, sure.
Ronald Jones II.
Well, this is, again, these are all these rookie backs, and a lot of times their role, it all seems hunky-dory until they get to a team and they're, doing kickoff returns.
Okay.
So I probably would take Cohen, I guess, over Jones.
Aaron Jones I.
Oh, man. I don't know.
This is interesting. Aaron Jones at
I'll take Cohen. There's a chance Packers have to running back.
Totally agree. Aaron Jones, ADP right now, Dave, of the 903. Jamal Williams, 907.
Yeah, people are confused.
I would be taking Williams ahead of Jones. Okay, let's get to a fun little draft email here. John Shaw, your friend and mine, Mr. Off the Grid, does a lot of great stuff in that league every year.
Yes, he's great.
He and I have been trading emails over the last few weeks. He had an interesting story on Josh Allen. This is his email. I was at the beach in Destin, Florida at the end of last year with a buddy and his wife partying. Early one evening, we stopped by a place on the harbor for drinks and dinner. We were at the bar watching Saturday Night Football when these 6 older ladies walked up. They grabbed a drink and sat down while they waited on their table. They make the trip from Fresno for a week each year, etc. The louder, heavy-set lady asked the bartender to turn the Wyoming game on. She turned out to be Josh Allen's aunt. We chatted with the group, and they were off to dinner. After they got through eating, they came back to the bar and were lit up. They ended up running into us at another bar later that night, and Allen's aunt was all over me. She was pretty direct and just wanted to hook up for the week. If she wasn't heavy set, not so loud and looks better, I might have been going to Dallas for the draft with the Allen clan. Ha ha, that is from John Shaw, our friend. You know, that would have been an interesting story of John Shaw going with... So
how can our listeners use that in their draft?
Well, I'm not saying that, this is necessarily advice, but can you imagine, because they always take the shot of, each of like with like a high draft pick on the stage of the commissioner and his family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you imagine, look at there's Josh Allen and say, what the hell is John Shaw doing up there? That's so interesting. Yeah, I answered mine, but this sounded like a Penthouse Forum letter from the start.
Bulky, you know what? Maybe we should do a different type of podcast.
Penthouse Forum letters?
Yeah, we just read off some of that stuff. That'd be great.
I would want to get, that'd be okay. I'd want to get, you ever watch that show, Sex Sent Me to the ER?
No.
Yeah, that, to do some sort of audio-only podcast of that, where we could let listeners' imaginations run wild.
I don't like those shows where they make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to make people uncomfortable listening. You got to be able to fight and listen to this.
What's that terrible show on Friday nights with that where they do something?
The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour.
Well, that's actually the hilarious answer and true.
Yeah.
But it's on TV Friday nights where what would you do or whatever. I hate that.
Yeah. I don't
that's
like
the worst show ever.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I'm just waiting for someone to get punched in the face on that show, or somebody.
It's probably happened and they just didn't televise it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Speaking of terrible things, you and I made a Dynasty trade this week that got a lot of attention on Twitter. This is in the Gridiron Legends League. I traded you Deshaun Watson and Corey Coleman for the 112 and the 412 picks this year. Thought it was all right. I'm going to have to explain myself.
I was all right with it.
Because Jules McLean, who's also in this league, posted on Twitter, I need some opinions on this trade that just went down. I am not one of the traders. Thoughts, please. Okay? I'm not going to read any of the well-thought-out responses.
There were 30-some responses.
There was a lot.
Half were actually oh, it's okay.
I know, but I don't want to read those. That's not fun. I want to read the fun ones. Okay?
Go for it.
At Shonky Aussie on Twitter. That's a very bad trade. Frowny face. At Gramley12, I think the Coleman-Watson side wins by a landslide. At _Dynasty Junkie, horrible trade by the Watson owner. At the Real Yateman, couldn't be more one-sided for the GM receiving Watson and Coleman. And I thought, oh yeah, this is my favorite one. This is the only one I liked. At Revolution9, the bulky scouting portfolio clearly doesn't know what he/she is doing. Okay.
Someone said I should get kicked out of the league for it.
Really? Somebody said that? Oh,
kicked out.
no, they said they wanted you kicked out because of your team name is Flat Earth Society.
Prove it. Prove it, Round Earther.
Okay, wait a minute. There was some. Okay, I'm just seeing. This is terrible radio, I know. I'm reading a lot of these for the first time. So anyway, at Old Hoovy Pants. Yikes. Okay, so the reason I did this trade, there's a few reasons. I feel like I need to explain myself. This was sort of like an agreement we had while the dispersal draft was going on, where I was asking your opinion. And you're like, oh, Watson's still out there? I'm like, yeah. And everybody
on dispersal draft, you and the other one,
right? And he already had Rodgers. And I was just letting Watson slip because Cousins was still out there too. I mean, I didn't care. I hate quarterbacks. Everybody listens to the show knows that I am not a fan of quarterbacks, and if you got to be weak somewhere, I'll be weak there. So you said you would trade the 112, excuse me, not the 1-2, the 112 to me if I drafted Watson. And I drafted Watson, and I thought there was an agreement that I have to get Cousins, and then I would do the trade. Now,
it's fine.
Now, you mentioned Aaron before. Aaron calls me out all the time on me forgetting stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if I just made that part up in my head and I never said it. So I felt like, you know what? I don't want to tick off Dave and not that it would have ticked you off.
It wouldn't have.
You said it was good either way, but I did want to withhold my end of the bargain. That said, even if that didn't happen, this is a league where quarterbacks are not – it's a one-quarterback league.
It's a lot of FFPC veterans are in this league.
Yeah, Kurt Kikas, Michael Cobb. No, he's not in that. Oh. Michael Cobb is in this one. Jules McLean, obviously. Meyer's not in this one. Danny Mueller is in this league as well. So then a bunch of people I'm forgetting about too. So anyway, John Duckworth, obviously, yeah, he's in this league too. So
Dennis Young, John Laskowski, Glenn Lowy.
Oh yeah, Glenn Lowy, yeah.
Michael Cobb, Dean DeCoeur, Michael Bernard, and Nick Z is opponent.
Nick Zabone.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it, anyway. Yeah.
So already quarterbacks are being devalued. You said in this league it's especially.
Well, no, and everyone has a quarterback.
Right.
Like, so no one's paying up.
Right.
No one's going to give you. You know what I mean? Like, no one's giving you the 106. It's like I have Brady in that league, and Brady's getting near the end of his career. So I mean, but I wouldn't have paid you the 106. I was even the 112. It's like. The 112 pick could be what? Could be that. Yeah,
right.
Go ahead.
And Pittsburgh Feelers, the other guy who took Rodgers in this league, he saw this trade go down, and then he was trying to trade Rodgers, and he couldn't. I mean, I think he still has. I mean, nothing went down, but he was looking for something higher than the 112. So
no one was willing to pay. That's true.
Right.
Higher than the 112 for Aaron Rodgers when he has Cousins.
Right. Now, not only that, in this league, this dispersal draft, there is. Not a lot of talent, okay? I know I'm probably not going to...
There's actually more than you thought.
Okay, well, I
Go ahead.
will respectfully disagree. I don't believe that either of our teams are going to be able to compete in year one. So my thought was that why am I holding a quarterback on my team that I can get a first-round rookie pick for right now?
Yeah.
That never happens. Right. You can almost never trade a quarterback really in any one quarterback dynasty league for a first-round rookie pick, especially rookie fever season right now. I'm like, I would be an irresponsible owner to not pass that up, given how my team is structured, where now I have, Fournette and Keenan Allen and Kelsey and these guys who should be, contributing for the longer haul. And now I have 3 of the top 20 rookie picks as well. So when I looked at it that way, and when you already have these hyper successful FFPC owners in here that have had a lot of dynasty success, man, I need all the help I can get. Okay, like the Watson is not doing. He's doing much more. He's doing more good for me off my team where I get this first round pick.
Well, you're gonna have to hit on the pick. That's the difference. And you have to.
But I can't hit on the pick unless I have the pick.
That's true, but I mean, you have, to go the other way. I mean, if Watson ends up being as good as he was, then you're going to have to hit that pick.
And Jack Hahn brought that up on Twitter too. Is like, look, he's got an injury history now. This is a small sample size. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, he had a great 7 games, big deal. And then the whole Corey Coleman, the only reason we did that trade is because 407 and 408 went before Coleman. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you the 412 for Coleman. Who cares? Apparently, none of you guys want him.
Right.
So there you go.
And I didn't. But I would rather take the 412, just for the unknown, And we made it one deal. It was technically 2 separate deals we talked about.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So that's my explanation on that. Hopefully they don't kick me out of Gridiron Legends now, after being in it for like 2 weeks. I feel like
Jules is not the commissioner.
Well, but Jules did say she basically said thanks for all the responses. She didn't like the bulky side. Only time will tell. Plus, I've been on the perceived wrong side before, and a couple years it turned out in my favor. There you go.
Yeah, no one really officially posts that.
I don't want it. No, not that I'm aware of. I don't want to be like a member of like Trump's cabinet in this league where I'm there for like 2 weeks and then
summarily dismissed.
This slimeball bulky giving his buddy Gerzak, Deshaun Watson for nothing.
Balky was in with the Duns the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
He gets busted out.
I'm going to have to rename my team name Deep State or something like that.
The Comey of this league.
Yeah. Well, Balky and Comey both, they sound alike. So maybe I should name it the Comey Scouting Portfolio. Okay, so that's going to do it for our show this week, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Steve Lee for coming on this week. I want to thank Dave Gerzak. I want to thank the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and, of course, all of you for listening. Want to let everybody know, a special programming note, we will have a show on Wednesday. That's right, this Wednesday. We're not going to do a show during the NFL draft. Obviously, everybody's going to be watching it. So we're going to do a show Wednesday. No Dave Gerzak, but it's me, and it's FFPC 750 number 19 Dynasty champion, Noah Blum. And
Noah's again? Awesome.
Yep, and I'll let you in on a little secret. This show may have already been recorded and in the can.
Oh, no wonder.
Yes, so that is why Dave was not on. You know, what's interesting is we had a huge turnout in the chat room tonight, and I'm not exactly sure why.
This is the draft is next week.
But well, I guess I don't know. We're also in another programming note, a twist of fate. We're actually having our season finale and season premiere after the Revelations Genesis drafts because our schedules didn't match up. We have to total up the IVF5 on it.
Oh, we need more bets.
Well, we can't really do them this year. I know the results.
All right.
And it was close. We'll leave it at that.
All right.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right.
I'm Jonathan Messenger, broadcasting to you live from my home, where I record a kids podcast with my son, Griffin.
John dreams of inspiring other parents to create something with their kids. American Family Insurance is helping to make that dream happen right now.
Dad, what else does a monster look like?
It was so huge.
John's podcast began at home, and your dreams can too. Learn more about American Family's home insurance at mfam.com. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin 53783.
I'm Jonathan Messenger, broadcasting to you live from my home, where I record a kids podcast with my son, Griffin.
John dreams of inspiring other parents to create something with their kids. American Family Insurance is helping to make that dream happen right now.
Dad, what else does a monster look like?
It was so huge.
John's podcast began at home, and your dreams can too. Learn more about American Family's home insurance at mfam.com. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin 53783.